Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mining Indaba 2022. Please welcome to the stage your Master of Ceremonies, Liesel van der Westhuizen.
Your Excellencies, Honourable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. A very warm welcome to Investing in African Mining Indaba 2022. We are so delighted to welcome you back to Cape Town after 2 years and 2 months apart. And we are so thrilled that you can join us for a week that promises to be a week of stimulating discussion and networking for Africa's vibrant natural resources and investment communities. This year, we challenge the mining community to look to the future and challenge new ways of thinking under our show theme, Investing in the Energy Transition, ESG and Economies. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our main stage sponsor, Anta Resources, for their continued support. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our host city's distinguished mayor. Please welcome Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis, Executive Mayor of the City of Cape Town.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cape Town. What an absolute joy it is to see all of you here this morning and back in our beautiful city. Your Excellencies, heads of state and heads of government, many ministers, chief executives, mayors, government officials from around the continent and around the world, and more than 6,000 participants in this incredible Indaba. Thank you so much for choosing Cape Town, for sticking with us through the difficult times of the last couple of years, when Cape Town, or rather when South Africa, and so many of our countries around this continent were so unfairly and unjustly red-listed in December. We were really worried about this event in particular. And we got on a video call sometime late in December, mid-December, with the organizers, and we said we just want to check that you're still coming to Cape Town. And I'll never forget the answer. COVID or no COVID, Mining Indaba is happening in Cape Town. And what a pleasure it is to welcome you all here. I hope you have a wonderful week in our beautiful city. I hope it inspires you, the program this week, to think differently and to ask what needs to be done differently for Africa to prosper, for our people to live in prosperity, happiness and dignity. When thinking about economies in Africa, it might first be helpful to acknowledge that while we've had a very difficult couple of years for all of us, it's been a particularly great year for mining. Around the world, people are talking about the commodity boom that has pumped up the prices of all of the things that you, good ladies and gentlemen, sell. This, of course, holds promise for African economies, especially those like ours in South Africa. There's cause for optimism in terms of economic growth in the region, as well as short-term upside for governments' stressed fiscal accounts and current accounts. Our optimism must, however, be cautious. In South Africa, as well as across the continent, we are facing significant structural constraints to economic growth, mostly as a consequence of state failure. State failure threatens South Africa's ability to really make the most of this commodities boom. or remain growing when this is over. So what needs to change in order for us to escape the poverty-creating curse of state failure? In South Africa, we need to get our ports in working order to properly participate in the global economy. We need to fix freight rail to get goods to and from those ports. We need to fix passenger rail so that our people can connect to and from work. We need urgent further action on electricity generation reform, as rolling blackouts, what we call load shedding, euphemistically, is the single biggest impediment to economic growth. And we need action on crime, because no one wants to live, let alone invest, in a place where communities feel unsafe. There have been some welcome policy shifts here in South Africa that will begin to address some of these things that I've mentioned. There's been an announcement by Transnet that it will seek private partners in port and freight rail. There has been a raising of the licensing threshold for electricity generation to 100 megawatts. And strong signs in this year's State of the Nation address by our President Cyril Ramaphosa that the private sector is the key to driving growth and jobs. We welcome this progress. We need a serious and honest rethink in Africa to ask why state failure has occurred and why there has been a failure to bring prosperity to our people. Why is state failure keeping far too many people poor? But we also want to say in Cape Town that we believe this is not inevitable. In Cape Town, we are raising a flag for what can be achieved with a capable state, which is why we want more powers devolved to our city. We are doing this rethink, and we are leading the charge with meaningful economic reform to get our economy growing and to get more people out of poverty. We want Cape Town to be the easiest place to do business on the African continent. I was excited to see this weekend that the Telegraph named Cape Town the third greatest city on earth. Thank you. Cape Town must now become Africa's capital for growing prosperity, for meaningful economic reform, for ease of doing business, and must be one of the world's most important business destinations, along with New York, London, Tokyo, and others. We want to do this by getting the basics right. And where we feel that we can do a better job in taking more control over policy areas that have traditionally been the preserve of the national state, then we must do that in the interest of delivering prosperity to more people. If local or regional government is able to carry out those functions, then those functions should be devolved to the local or regional authority. This is what I call functional federalism. Functional federalism is a patriotic duty, not a rejection of the rest of the country or continent. We are passionate about South Africa succeeding, and we are working every day to play our part in building South Africa into a prosperous state. Soon we will close our first bid for independent power procurement in Cape Town. It's nice to see Minister Mantashe here. This is just one crucial part of our plan to end load shedding over time. We're allowing self-generating corporates to sell back to the grid and paying an incentive tariff for them to do so quicker. And we're planning our own generation projects. We're encouraging the devolution of passenger rail so that we can get people to work quickly and safely. And we are pushing for the privatization, the private management of our essential Cape Town port so that we can reduce waiting times and shipping costs in the economy. And we've embarked on a massive capital expenditure journey to improve all kinds of infrastructure in Cape Town, to ensure that the conditions are in place for a thriving economy and for dignified living conditions for all of our residents, and in particular the poorest amongst us. Ladies and gentlemen, some people have come to think that South Africa, and indeed many economies in Africa, cannot possibly thrive. That we will never see the kind of economic growth that has lifted so many societies and countries out of poverty in a matter of a few short decades. Here, we believe quite the opposite. State failure is not inevitable, and neither are growth-destroying economic policies. We are showing that a different future, a more prosperous and hopeful future is possible. I urge you all to keep this in mind this week as you engage in your crucial discussions at this wonderful mining Indaba. And if there are any firms, any investors in this room who are questioning your commitment to South Africa or to Africa, I ask you, before you go anywhere else, give us a call in Cape Town. There are innumerable reasons to stay. So give Cape Town an opportunity to show them to you. Have a wonderful week in our city and a prosperous week filled with fulfilling business engagements. I thank you so much for your commitment and dedication to being here, and I welcome you all to the Mother City. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mayor Hill Lewis, for your kind welcome to all our delegates, and congratulations on Cape Town being named one of the top 3 cities by the Telegraph. It's now my honour to welcome to the main stage the chair of the Advisory Board for Mining Indaba. Please put your hands together for Mr. Frans Baleni.
Good morning, Molweni, Dumelang, Ujambo, Bonjour. Program Director, His Excellency President Masisi, His Excellency President Hichilema, His Excellency Prime Minister Hakainde Hichilema, Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, our visiting ministers and all our local ministers, Director Generals and officials of government, locally and visiting, former Chairperson of the Mining Board, Mr. Mpomakwana, members of the Advisory Board, captains of the industry, political leaders, and organized labor, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this 2022 Mining Indaba. It is good to be reunited in person again. This year, 2022, marks the 155th anniversary of the discovery of diamonds in South Africa. What also makes our return even more special is that this year, we not only have one head of state, but 3. President of South Africa, President of Botswana, President of Zambia, and Head of Government, Prime Minister from DRC. Thank you for joining us at this year's Mining Indaba. We look forward to hearing your remarks during your participation. It seems that every Mining Indaba, we attract a significant number of first-time attendees. To our first-time attendees, you might have heard that African Mining Indaba brings a multiplicity of people together: shareholders, investors, political leaders, employees, women, youth, and innovators to network, foster meaningful partnership, and make impactful investment. This is all true. But there is something else about Mining Indaba, which I'm pleased to share with you today. The Mining Indaba is also a platform for potential romance. You laugh, but I'm not making this up. Last year, I was among the invited guests who witnessed Nchaka and Zimkita, now Mr. and Mrs. Molloy's wedding in Clarence, a charming town in the Free State. So do pay attention. They are both in the audience today, and the romance started right here at the largest mining investment in Cape Town. I must say it's also good to be back in this mother city, and I would like to thank the city of Cape Town and Mayor Bill Lewis for hosting us. Let me share with you a historical fact about Cape Town. The first commercial mining in South Africa was founded in this city in 1846, and it was called the South African Mining Company. The development of mining activities brought about industrialization and introduction of trade unionism. Our country's mineral revolution can be traced back to the discovery of the first diamond Eureka in 1867. From the subsequent discovery of the main gold reef in Landlaagte Farm in 1886, the establishment of the Witwatersrand Chamber of Mines in 1889, the enactment of the Mining Health and Safety Act in 1996, the launch of the Mining Charter in 2004, to the opening of the mining precinct, aiming to boost the industry through research and development in 2016. Our mining industry has come a long way since 1867, colleagues. Its evolution has shaped and continues to shape our political and economic landscape. For example, the latter is evidenced in the profound disruption brought about the 2019 global pandemic. The COVID-19 restrictions resulted in various challenges for the mining industry, ranging from interruption of logistics, production reduction, supply chain delays, and a decrease in demand for commodities. Even so, the pandemic also created opportunities. For example, we witnessed the gold price to the levels above that of our last in-person mining Indaba in Feb 2020. And over 5,000 jobs were created. Furthermore, companies were presented with conditions conducive to assessing their level of preparedness for productivity risk exposures and for implementing innovative and cost-effective production plans. In addition, they were required to revisit their ESG agenda to actively consider different mining methods and to put measures in place to ensure that they are better prepared to adapt to the pandemic and future. In South Africa, during the pandemic, a significant portion of the mining labor remained employed. This was in large due to public and private sector partnership grounded in shared principle, namely economic recovery, inclusive and sustainable growth, and the recognition by the private sector that stakeholders and employees are a significant part of their future success. Hence, we are all here today. The Mining Indaba presents us with a unique opportunity to reinvigorate cross-border partnerships in the mining industry, to grow foreign trade and to attract foreign direct investment into our African continent, and thereby driving inclusive growth to help create more jobs as well as strengthen the continental economy. In conclusion, the African continent has weathered the pandemic storm relatively well. However, challenge will continue to persist in the short to medium term. With single-minded determination, we can overcome them. After all, as Albert Schweitzer said, I quote, "One who gains strength by overcoming obstacles possesses the only strength which can overcome adversity," unquote. That's the spirit that saw our continent overcome adversity. And if we remember these words by Albert, we remember how far we come as an industry and as the African continent, then we will succeed again. The Mining Indaba presents endless opportunities for all stakeholders. Let us step up our efforts to further revolutionize African mining for the betterment of the continent and its people who live in it. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Mr. Maleni for those inspiring words. It's now my great honor to welcome the Honorable Minister Gwede Mantashe, Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, the Republic of South Africa, to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Organizers of the 2022 mining in Indaba, Their Excellencies, Presidents from Botswana and Ghana, Prime Minister from DRC, ministers present here, deputy ministers, and our deputy minister, Dr. Hakainde, the leadership of organized labor here, I'm hoping they're here, captains of the industry, members of the investment community, representatives of civil society and communities, members of the Red Cross, and distinguished guests, all of us present here today. It is an honor and privilege to participate in this year's Investing in Africa Mining in Indaba. This event continues to grow in stature, in numbers over the years. This is testament that Africa remains a key destination for mining investment. My own view is that we must continue to grow interest in Africa investment. We are pleased to host you in a physical format after 2 years of basically period of virtual conferencing due to outbreak of COVID-19, a global pandemic that disrupted global economies and changed ways of doing business. I must make the point that it disrupted us, we responded to it, and mining in South Africa responded positively to it. That's why mining is leading the reconstruction and recovery of the economy. It's because in the middle of COVID, we took a decision that coal mining must continue producing. At level 4, we took a decision that open cast must continue to produce at full scale. At level 3, we said the whole of mining must produce. And I like this story because everybody criticizes it, but ultimately it proved to be a correct strategy. And that is what wealth is all about. Courage is not because you never get visited by fear. It's the ability to manage and overcome fear. That is what is called courage. When it comes, you don't allow it to overwhelm you, That's what we did in the middle of COVID. This year's mining in Indaba happens with the backdrop of high energy prices, which pose a significant inflationary risk to poor and emerging markets. Without any doubt, increased energy prices continue to be of great concern to our government and investors alike. And that's why a position we took, which is correct as a country, that in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, it is not about betting with Russia or Ukraine. It is about pursuing the ability to achieve peace, because only peace sustains stability. Where there is no peace, where there is conflict, it doesn't matter who you favor, who wins. In a war, there is no winner. Everybody is a loser. What wins is actually peace. Without any doubt, therefore, increased energy prices continue to be a great concern to our government investors. And the African continent needs to build the resilience against energy supply shocks through exploration and development of international. Our view is that we still have a lot of wealth that is in the ground, that needs to be explored, that needs to be discovered. And part of the investment must be directed at exploration, discover what is in there, whether it is offshore or onshore. Let's get that wealth while we're mitigating climate change. It is therefore not surprising that we convene in Indaba under the theme, evolution of African mining, investing in energy transition, ECG, ESG, and economies. Now, the history of mining in Africa is rooted in the colonial and neo-colonial exploration. And that exploitation of the African continent is something that we must contribute. The impact of colonialism on mining was such that infrastructure was established to reflect colonial mining and repatriation of mineral resources to develop economies of the colonial powers. Roads and railways were built from mines to ports with little or to no contribution of local social and economic development. We therefore, as African countries, have a duty and an obligation as the continent to change the pit to port economic architecture. And therefore we must beneficiate our minerals here in the continent. If we add value, we are also creating employment. If we export raw commodities, we are exporting jobs. So that's what we must apply our mind. Today, millions of Africans have no access to energy. This represents an electricity access rate for sub-Saharan continent of just 48%, the lowest in the world. I must make the submission that it means that we must work together because as South Africa in 1994, only 39% had access to electricity. Today here in our country, 87% of our people have access to electricity. Therefore, the dream to have universal access to electricity remains a possibility for South Africa. But it is not sufficient to have that for South Africa. It is important to look at it for the continent. Our considered view is that our focus should not only be on investing in energy transition, but equally investing in universal access to energy. So as we address the transition, again that transition should be understood in detail. It should not just be just energy transition. We must put content to the justice. And that content should mean you can't have transition that is fair if there is no justice. If it talks about numbers and not people and communities. So the just transition must be talking to people and communities, and there must be justice in the process of that justice. And therefore energy poverty remains a reality in the country. Universal access to energy and just transition will not only enable the improvement of lives and livelihoods of African people, but it will also boost economic activity and by extension, mining activity. When there is no electricity, with a problem with electricity supply, miners pay the price. Widespread energy access on African continent is an imperative of our time and requires our immediate and concerted effort. Historically, investment decisions were based on whether there would be some financial return within reasonable time frame, with little regard to the impact and potential impact following from investment decisions, including on the environment, on social impact, on communities, impact on governance structures, such as local and traditional leaders. This investment landscape is now rapidly changing. Now, as we invest here, we're inviting everybody to come and invest in Africa. But we're equally encouraging companies that invest in Africa to develop a sustainable social investment framework. Because you invest in your community, those people in that community protect your business interests. You work together, you cooperate, and you can only succeed if you actually have a sustainable social investment framework. Aggressive net zero targets and the renewed focus on sustainability by investment community and developed wealth are driving the development of ESG assets, which are estimated to exceed 50 trillion in 2025, representing more than a third of the projected 140.5 trillion in the total global assets under management. This way of capital provides several opportunities for Africa. However, it is important to balance long-term sustainability objectives with the short to medium needs for access to energy, job creation, poverty alleviation, and eradication of economic growth and development. This is all achievable through holistic approach to the ESG framework. Africa has a role to play as a continent and will continue to perform poorly when compared to other mining jurisdictions. The Fraser Institute's annual survey, again highlighted, is for 2021. But our appeal is that when international institutions assess our areas, please do talk to executives in our jurisdiction. It must not just be based on desktop research. In other areas, Fraser Institute interview executives, whether it is in Canada or Australia or North America, but in Africa they use desktop survey. And that's why it will give you results that sometimes are confusing. It puts you at the bottom for investment attractiveness, but to put you at the top for availability of labor and skills. Then you can reconcile the two. Out of the 15 categories assessed, you get increased assessment in 5, average on others, and you are getting last in investment attractiveness. But all these other factors should contribute to investment attractiveness. So that's the point we're making. We'll have to engage at the institute itself that please do talk to our executive. We have noted concern raised by our miners in the survey. We need to work hard to improve internal factors and influence external factors that contribute to this concerning results. We intend to use the platform to encourage open and honest dialogue that will help to position Africa as an attractive mining and energy investment destination. One of the most promising investments on the continent is the African Continental Free Trade Area, which has the potential to create the biggest trade area in the world, cutting red tape, boosting trade throughout the continent, and this will significantly improve mining supply chains and reduce input costs. And to us, we are a continent. Honorable Mayor, we are not Cape Town, we are a continent. It's much bigger than Cape Town. So this continent must attract investment, must perform as a continent, not just one city. It's too small for the city. Now, the just transition to low carbon. The just transition to low carbon future will continue green metals, to which Africa has an abundance of untapped resources, such as lithium, copper, cobalt, vanadium, nickel, zinc. There is no doubt that the transition will drive demand for the mineral. Remember, everything that you touch that advances life is either planted or mined. So the mining industry will play a major role if we're going to make advances on green economy. The Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, demonstrates this, and together with Zambia, are among the largest producers of copper and cobalt in the world. The DRC and Zambia account for 70% of global cobalt output and half of the world research. In addition, global targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions entail transitioning away from pollution-emitting combustion energies to greener alternatives that utilize electricity and hydrogen fuel cells. The catalytic converters that vehicles manufacturers use to reduce neutralize harmful pollutants from exhausted emissions require PGMs, platinum group metals. Is important today, it is going to be important in the future, and we must remember South Africa accounts for the largest percentage of the world's platinum group metals reserves, with Zimbabwe ranked third. This will ensure that both countries play a crucial role in the world emerging energy transition. Minerals of the future that Africa has in abundance hold great potential for the continent. These minerals can be used in the development of hydrogen economy. An exciting and significant story for the future to tell at this Indaba is that on Friday, 6th May, we unveiled the prototype of the largest world hydrogen-powered mine haul truck in New Jersey at the Anglo-American Khalakwena PGM mine in Limpopo. It is not done in any city, it is in a rural place called Limpopo. That's where PGM is mined and that truck is there. And as a person who witnessed it, I had hoped that by the end of this decade, we're going to see a fleet of those hydrogen-powered trucks in many of the urban cars in South Africa. No. And this is one of the first projects of South Africa's hydrogen value. The industrial cluster that brings various hydrogen applications to form an integrated hydrogen ecosystem. The launch of hydrogen-powered mine haul truck is indeed a source of pride for mining industry in the African continent. It is done here in Africa. It is working here in Africa. Investors, please come to Africa. That's where the future is. It's a continent of the future. You may have ideas now, but in the future, Africa is going to determine where we all go. This is one of our resource endowment as a country and continent must be translated into competitive advantage for value-added manufacturing that can contribute to job creation, investment, and export growth. Delegates at this Indaba must discuss how the continent can beneficiate these natural resources. Because our weak point is that we mine, we take the mineral from the port, from the pit to the port, and somebody else has beneficiated our mineral. Beneficiation will mean we're fully taking ownership of the value chain of our minerals across the world, of the upstream, midstream, downstream, and mining economic activity instead of exporting the price of electricity that can be used as a factor to increase investment. His Excellency President Ramaphosa will tomorrow deliver a presidential address in which he will elaborate further on our work to ensure that mining remains a sunrise industry. An invitation to you to come and engage with us further. Our Council for Geoscience will today launch its data management portal hosted at the SA Pavilion, and the portal makes quality geoscience data and information accessible and available to stakeholders. Please visit that portal, see it, does it give you value, and if it gives you value, use it and engage. Allow me to further emphasize that we are open to business and stand ready to work with the investment community. Let me clarify one point first. You know, last year, the President allowed us to deregulate, but it will work cooperation in the government so that if you have short period for issuing a permit, other requirements, your environment, your water license and others must move with the same speed. That will help us achieve ease of doing business in South Africa. Let me conclude by wishing you all a successful week. I look forward to the outcome of your deliberation as we together move to the mining industry forward. I don't want to get into what Mr. Balele ventured into about other things that you do that add interest in the mining endeavor. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Please.
Thank you, Honourable Minister Mantashe. Now, Your Excellencies, Honourable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding to welcome His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia.
Thank you very much. You may take your seats, please. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, obviously in advance. I understand you'll be joining us soon. Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Botswana, my brother, President Okwesi Masisi, Your Excellency, Sam Konde Kienge, Prime Minister, Democratic Republic of Congo. Honorable Gwede Mantashe, Minister of Mines, South Africa. Mr. Franz Baleni, Summit Chairperson. Your Excellencies, Ministers from various African countries that are present here, indeed, government officials from all our governments that are present at this Indaba, representatives from chambers of mines, mining companies, financials, investors, representatives from cooperating partners, including the World Bank, and indeed other international organizations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to be part of this year's Investing in African Mining at this Indaba. This year's theme, African mining, investing in energy transition, environmental, social, and governance, and our economies, could not have come at a more opportune time than this one. The energy transition and unprecedented technological advancements are anchored by the mineral resources, amongst, indeed, other sectors, other resources, not just on our continent, but elsewhere. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, the mining sector remains critical to the sustainable development of our African continent. Some years ago, there was a debate, very strong debate, that mining is gone on this continent. No, mining is not gone. Mining is here to stay. Mining will anchor, if we manage it properly, our developmental agenda going forward. Our continent is blessed with vast mineral resources that are key drivers of the development agenda of most of our countries. I think you heard the Minister of Mines here. For example, just the two countries on this continent, Congo DR and Zambia, hold over 70% of the world's resources in the area of cobalt. That's important. We cannot wish that away. It is here to stay, and we must exploit it properly, strategically clever, to benefit the lives of our people who need to be scaled out of poverty like yesterday. It is clear, and as such, this calls for deliberate efforts on the part of us, the African leaders. I want to repeat this. This calls for deliberate efforts on the part of us, the African leaders, and our partners to ensure sustainable development and management of these our resources. We in Zambia have taken a decision, and a very strong one, that we are tired of talking about Africa's potential. We don't want to hear someone in our country, hopefully on the continent, sing the song of potential. We want to realize that potential. We want to realize that potential to drive development, to alleviate poverty, amongst others. And there should be no excuses from us, especially us, the African leaders. We should not hide in any argument. We must just get the job done. Our people deserves better from us as leaders. We were elected to do just that. These efforts from all of us, include building downstream linkages aimed at promoting value addition, as the Minister from South Africa, Minister of Mines, indicated, manufacturing on our continent, as well as upstream linkages into mining capital goods, consumables, and indeed service industries. The development of supporting infrastructure, including in areas such as power. I heard my colleague minister talked about power here. All of us on this continent should not accept the fact that we don't have sufficient power to drive our mining sector and other industries. We do have. We've just not been doing the work that we were elected to do. Now is the time to do that. So in power, logistics, and transport. Indeed, communications, significant investments, obviously in the area of research, technology, and development, amongst others, also remains critical to our development agenda, with mining being integral to that agenda. Our continent is endowed with vast mineral resources that largely remain undiscovered because we're not investing in exploration. And even when they're discovered, they're not exploited. Yet our people live in abject poverty. Unacceptable. Going forward. Unacceptable. We also have immense potential in the artisanal side and small-scale subsector, because this is important for our local populations in our countries to be involved in the mining sector. And small-scale mining, artisanal mining is an area even large mining houses must work with governments to make it possible for people to participate in the mining sector. I think that will bring us the much needed social contracts that we need from our voters. Very important. It is clear that aggressive investment into exploration will unlock their undiscovered mineral resources and create enormous social economic impact. That will not only lift many of our people, as I've said, out of poverty, but create new wealth and prosperity on our continent. I've said it before, chairperson of this Indaba, that personally I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that we have so much poverty on our continent amidst so much wealth. This is an inherent contradiction which we, working together, must resolve. We have an opportunity to actualize Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, which is anchored on harnessing the continent's endowments, embodied in people and natural resources. We are, however, cognizant of the threats that stand in the way of actualizing our aspirations as a people, as a continent. Civil strife, for example. Civil strife, for example. Conflict, instability which has characterized a number of mineral-rich African countries. We thought we were putting this issue away, but it's re-emerged in the last couple of years. And And this is not good for us at all. So we must endeavor to foster peace and stability across the continent, because conflict definitely impedes investment. Conflict and other issues obviously endanger our desire and abilities to deliver social and economic growth for our people. I therefore wish to underscore Zambia's support, our country's support, aimed at all efforts aimed at resolving the ongoing conflicts on our continent. We as a country are in support of that, and I believe other countries should do that. I'm sure they are doing that. And elsewhere in the world, conflict not just on our continent, but elsewhere in the world. We often stress the point, and I think I've repeated this on many platforms that I've had the opportunity to attend, that we stress this point, that instability anywhere is a threat to stability everywhere. There's no question about it. We've seen what's happening in Europe long before. The message, the narrative was driven that conflict is Africa, and Africa is conflict. No, it's not true. Conflict, instability is not Africa. Yes, it's Africa, but it's also Europe. It's America. It's everywhere. We should not allow this to continue. I think it's not a question of who believes in what, who supports who. Yes, I heard the minister from South Africa say that. But aggression leading to conflict is taking away opportunities from us to invest more in the mining sector and to realize value for all our people. And I think we should not accept it. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to share with you our vision of a new dawn for Zambia's mining sector. Since coming into office, our party coming into office 8 months ago, our government has been determined and focused on efforts to revive the Zambian economy. Our economy is anchored by the mining sector, which historically has been a major contributor to our development. We undoubtedly believe in its potential to be an even greater contributor to our economy, as we welcome active and pragmatic collaboration with the mining industry and other players, financials, technology providers. The list is long. We are committed to building a resilient, sustainable mining industry anchored on environmental, social, and indeed governance standards and best practice, because this is a bare minimum if we have to do it correctly. Our determination towards industrialization, obviously job creation, business opportunities is very clear. It's very clear for those that have been following us 8 months back. We're very determined, and we will not allow anything to stand in the way of clearing all hurdles that will allow investments, especially in the mining sector and other sectors, for obvious reasons. We are open for business. I heard the minister from South Africa say, we shall repeat it, Zambia is open for business. And we are open to engage and partner with all of you here and those that are not present today. As many of you are aware, Zambia is a key player in the global copper mining industry, which has already been mentioned here, and is home to vast reserves of copper, cobalt, and other minerals. We are addressing factors that constrain investment and putting in place factors that catalyze this investment. Our investment environment will undoubtedly be 1, transparent, 2, consistent, 3, predictable, 4, fair, and number 5, something many African leaders don't want to talk about, and I talk about with pleasure: intolerance to corruption. Intolerance to corruption. Momentum is building towards increased mineral production as new mining operations are opening. Old ones, somehow, which were challenged, we are unlocking those challenges. I have said to my colleagues in cabinet that work is not 8 hours to 17 hours. Work is deliverables. What do we deliver? over what period of time? That's the way we are looking at things in Zambia. We are building strategic partnerships that will help position Zambia for future prosperity in the context of Africa. There's no way Zambia can talk of prosperity in isolation to Africa's prosperity. It's not possible. The scale is small, of course, but demand doesn't sit in our domestic jurisdiction for what we may produce. It sits elsewhere, on the continent and indeed in the global village. Just last month, we signed an MOU with Congo DR. Deliberately went out to work with our brothers in Congo and sisters in Congo to sign this MOU to facilitate the development of value chains in the electric battery and clean energy sector. Africa should and must cooperate in order to enlarge the envelope. Singularly, we are too small. We may have the people, but the people may not have effective demand. So we must work together to enlarge the envelope and to deliver benefits to all our people as much as is possible. Together, we will change the narrative that Africa is only, and I agree with the previous speaker, only a source of raw materials, and establish our nations as leading players in the era of electric vehicles. We don't want to be Cinderella to the electric vehicle industry. No, we want to be integral to this new industry, electric vehicles and green innovations. Not at the edges, but at the center. Of course, we are no threat to anybody. We work with those who have the technology, we work with those that have the the capital, as long as your capital is fairly priced, because Africa has been paying too much for its capital. I think this is time to lower the cost of capital on this continent. Our private sector partners, we call on you, Zambia, Africa, to work with us. Let's cut the distance between ourselves. And as such as a country, we've taken a decision to work with the private sector, not once in a month, no, but all the time, through our public-private partnership dialogue forum. So we want to be together all the time. Come to do business with us. We want to hear you. We want to understand what your challenges are, how we can unlock those challenges. And I think that's a better way of working. We're not the first ones to do that. Others have done it and it's worked for them. We'd like it to work for us as well. We encourage investors to come up with similar schemes, views, ideas, new or existing, but need to be unlocked, and we'll work together to unlock these. We have a mining house in Zambia that they will be speaking after me, are investing more money in the mining sector, but also putting money in solar, in wind energy. We encourage that. First one is doing that. Copper, I want to repeat, ladies and gentlemen, is critical in the green energy transition, and there's an ever-increasing demand for it. What an opportunity. We are determined to respond to the high demand for copper and have an audacious goal to take our annual production of copper from the current 830 metric tons per year to 3 million tons per year. Very ambitious. We are not ashamed of being ambitious. This indeed will happen, but it will happen only working with yourselves as investors, as financiers, as technology providers. Our improving conducive operating environment, willingness to work with investors and mining entities, our abundant mineral resources, as I said, are factors which will make this goal a reality, no doubt about it. Dear friends, allow me to reiterate the Zambian government's commitment to supporting domestic economic empowerment and job creation without resource nationalism. Sounds a contradiction, it's not. We can achieve both. We want our citizens to play a critical role in our mining value and supply chain, along with your investment. Yes, that's the way it should be. This will undoubtedly add to the sustainability of our investment, your investment in our country, and secure a much needed social contract. Very important, extremely important. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the important role that the private sector plays in the development of the mining industry. In response, our government policy will promote a private sector-driven, competitive, thriving, and sustainable mining industry. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to state categorically that Zambia is governed by the rule of law. It is for this reason that mechanisms are already in place to entrench and enhance the tenets of good governance in the administration of mineral rights. Quite important as well. We assure investors of security of tenure and security of their investments, while at the same time ensuring a fair share for Zambian citizens. If we didn't do that, we will mislead investors. Not too long, conflicts will arise, and we don't want that, because that's disruptive to our agenda, our joint agenda. As we continue to enhance investor confidence, we are implementing robust policy and legal reforms aimed at stimulating the growth of the sector in the medium to long term. And again, let's work together. There may be items, issues we don't know, we are not aware as government. You as an investor are aware. Bring it to the table. Let's talk about it. Let's resolve it together. We are building institutional capacity to facilitate increased in-country processing for various mineral commodities. The reason is clear, but we are challenged. Railways, roads, and this is another one important area, infrastructure, where we believe that as mining investors, we must take interest, share ideas on how we can improve, how we can identify other colleagues similar to us, similar to you, who share the agenda of development for Africa. For example, to invest in the railway system. And I think in this country, South Africa, it is imperative that we work together. 4 countries work together. 4+. I don't want to be accused after my speech that I left out one country. But South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Congo DR, really, we need to find some common ground to fix our railway system for movement of our goods and services, including. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure transparency in the administration and issuance of mining rights, we have imposed a moratorium on the issuance of mining rights in our country, only for a short while, to clean it up. We inherited a system, practices that were unhealthy. So for the mining investors, we're doing this only for a short while to clean up the system. And you'll be happy once we reopen the mining license rights. You'll be very happy. Because one of the things we want to root out is just endemic corruption around the mineral resources. And that does not help anyone, including yourself as investors. It will be open very soon. We are now working towards operationalization of the online payment portal to promote efficiency and integrity in the administration of the mining rights system in our country. You don't have to do what you were asked to do just 10 months ago. To keep queuing there, to talk to too many officials, along the way, you know things happen. You know the things that will happen. And we want to make sure that that's a thing of the past. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to take this opportunity to re-emphasize that Zambia is endowed with too much, with a lot. Between Zambia and Congo DR, it's just something else. But we've never systematically addressed the opportunities that lie in this sector, the mining sector. So that's what we're working on doing. Not just in Zambia, but together with others. Congo DR is just one. We'd like to cooperate with other countries in many sectors. I think we'll do better to cooperate than to work in isolation. We see a future Obviously, where electric vehicle components, which include batteries, copper pipes, and cables and others, will be produced in Zambia, in Congo DR, yes, Minister Mantashe, in South Africa. Yes, you're already doing a lot, but we want all of us to do something. And that gives us an opportunity to develop the Africa Free Trade Area. I have said this point before. In the Africa Free Trade Area agenda, if other countries' citizens don't see benefits, they will resist. The only way to make it possible and work for everybody is to ensure that benefits are spread across one or two countries only, that broadly. That we understand competitive and comparative advantages. We understand it. We are not oblivious to it. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we are ensuring that development of our air, road, as I said, rail and others are part of the mining agenda. Otherwise, the facilitation will not be there. We invite investors to come to Zambia and see for themselves the vast potential in the mining sector and the sectors that support it. Please do come. Please, let's network in this Indaba, 2022 Indaba. Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted with the first quantum minerals announcement of 2 landmark investments in Zambia. We set out to unlock this opportunity, and others will be announcing very soon, because they were standing in our way of achieving the 3 million tons per year of production. Just copper, but also in other sectors we're working on targets. So we're very delighted that First Quantum has unlocked an opportunity that was hanging around for over 10 years. And in 8 months, we set an agenda that 1, 2, 3, we shall unlock it. One of the most First Quantums was very delighted that this investment has been unlocked. You will hear from them shortly after my speech. I could talk about figures, but I will allow them to talk about figures. But broadly, for us as a small country, when you have a total investment, additional investment of $1.3 billion, it's not small. It's a lot in one project, 1 or 2 projects. So we're very delighted with that. This is an example of what we want to do going forward. You have a project in Zambia, you are an investor, you're seated in this Indaba. You have been challenged, things are not moving. Talk to the Minister of Mines, he's here, seated over there. Talk to the Minister of Finance, he's seated over there, and officials. As we return home, we want to schedule your issue, your case, and unlock it as we go back home. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I wish to express my sincere gratitude for the invitation to grace this mining Indaba. I thank you for your kind attention. God bless you.
Many thanks, Your Excellency, for honouring us with your perspective at this year's Mining Indaba. I'd now like to welcome Tristan Pascal, CEO of First Quantum Minerals, to give his vote of thanks to His Excellency, the President of Zambia.
Your Excellencies, Honourable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I am honoured to have been asked to address you this morning and to follow in the footsteps of His Excellency, Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia. From the early days of our company as a junior miner in the mid-1990s at One Magubwa, near Indaba, to the present day, First Quantum has grown and changed beyond all recognition, and so has Zambia. It's a simple story, really, to which many of you can relate, and that is that when mining does well, so does Zambia, and so does Zambians. First Quantum has been in partnership with Zambia for 26 years. There's been a partnership which has prospered, but at times along the way, it's also had its share of differences. At First Quantum, we have learned from these differences that it is no longer enough to aspire to operational excellence alone. As an industry, we need to be relentless in proving our beneficial impact to society, particularly in our host communities. We must prove that we are